Welcome to Lecture 9, Public Administration in Germany. Introduction. Germany is one of the most powerful countries in Europe, with a population that is close to 100 million people. Germany has remained at the heart of Europe since the unification of Germany in 1871. Indeed, ever since then, its presence has become a source of fear to other states. Indeed, not long after the unification, Germany sought to impose its imperial designs on the whole of Europe. That is, this desire for imperial domination reached its apex under Adolf Hitler. In terms of public administration, Germany pioneered a system of central administration based on the ideas of Max Weber, who developed the idea of the bureaucracy characterized by fixed and official jurisdictional areas, principles of office hierarchy, management according to formal rules, etc. However, recent developments in Germany have been geared towards the development of an administrative system that is performance-based and efficient. Course objectives. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Give an overview of the government. 2. Highlight and discuss the characteristics of the civil service in Germany. 3. Explain the measures to reform the German civil service. The governance environment of public administration. Background. Modern-day Germany can be traced to the unification that took place under Emperor Otto von Bismarck in 1870. The German state that was created was an authoritarian state. Little was expected of the citizens. They were merely to pay taxes, serve in the army, and keep their mouth shut, according to Dalton 2008. The central government undertook national development and society became industrialized. However, economic and political power remained in the hands of bureaucracy and traditional bureaucratic elite. This was because the authoritarian state was strong enough to resist the democratic demands of a weak middle class. The First World War, however, reversed much of the progress the German state had made. For one, more than 3 million soldiers and civilians lost their lives. But beyond the immediate loss of life was the long-term economic loss. With the end of the war, attempts were made to reconstruct a new political system, which was known as the Weimar Republic, beginning from 1919. The Weimar Constitution granted all citizens the right to vote and granted basic human rights. This was to mark Germany's first real experience with democracy. However, the economic climate was not favorable for the new government. Since Germany was to bear the burden of the war, known as reparation, meaning it had to pay other countries such as France, United Kingdom, etc. for the damage the war had caused these countries, according to Osborne 1994. This shaped the German economy of funds that should have been channeled into post-war reconstruction. There was equally a series of post-war upswings and an attempted coup known as the Beer Purge led by Hitler in 1923. The Great Depression of 1929 hit the German economy more than most other Western economies. Unemployment rose sharply and reached 44% of the German labor force in 1932. It was in the midst of the financial crisis that Hitler came to power through his Nazi party. As the German populace became increasingly disenchanted with the German political system, that turned to Hitler's party for direction and leadership. Between 1929 and 1933, the vote of the Nazi party rose from 2% in 1928 to 33% in 1932, and by 1933 Hitler became chancellor, according to Oswald 1994 and 2000. The rise of Hitler to power frustrated attempts to build a democratic society. Under the guise of a Third Reich, Hitler entrenched his will and designs on the German state, rallying public opinion to his side through the use of German nationalism, and built institutions of power that turned Germany into a police and bureaucratic state. Massive public work projects lessened unemployment but also built the infrastructure for a wartime economy. Hitler's unrestrained ambition would ultimately lead Germany and Europe into another world war beginning from 1939. Within the end of the war and the defeat of Germany, the victor powers, that is United States, France, UK and Soviet Union, occupied Germany, and their inability to come to a common term on a post-war settlement plan led eventually to the formation of two separate republics: Western Germany, that is Federal Republic of Germany, and Eastern Germany, that is German Democratic Republic. The Federal Republic of Germany came to being with the Basic Law in Bonn on 23rd May 1949, while Eastern Germany came into being on 11th October 1949. These two countries continued until 1990, when both countries were reunited. Overview of the government. The German Constitution or Basic Law was approved by all but one of the founding states of the Federal Republic in May 1949. According to the Constitution of the German Republic, the Federal Republic is a social state, Article 20, committed to the rule of a codified law and the equalization of living conditions between rich and poor states, according to Article 107. However, Article 146 stipulated that the Constitution will cease to be effective once a unified Germany passed a new constitution. This issue was a bone of contention within the Social Democrats, that is, a political party in Germany, who favored this constitutional provision, and the Christian Democrats, who did not. The Unification Treaty signed between Western and Eastern Germany provided the constitutional basis for unity. According to Timmins 2000, the Unification Treaty provided for a constitutional review, and in 1991 a joint constitutional commission comprising 64 delegates, divided equally from the parliament of both Western Germany and Eastern Germany. In June 1994, the Commission produced a number of limited proposals that were passed by the Bundestag. The Federal Republic of Germany has a bicameral legislature, that is, Bundesrat, the upper chamber, and the Bundestag, the lower chamber. The federal government is appointed by the president upon recommendation by the chancellor, who is in turn elected by the Bundestag. Salient features of the public administration system. Civil service. The civil service in the Federal Republic of Germany is highly politically decentralized. A large proportion of civil service function as performed at the state, regional, district, country and local level. Only 10% of civil servants in Germany work for the federal authority, according to House 2006. There are 16 federal ministries which range in size from the Ministry for Family, Pensioners, Women and Youth, with just 325 civil servants. Each ministry is divided into 4 levels, comprising the minister and state secretaries, departments, sub-departments and sections. Civil servants are categorized into 5 groupings. 1. Political officials. 2. Higher service. 3. Elevated upper middle service. 4. Intermediate service. And 5. Lower level service. Civil service. German civil service, like France, is generally felt to have a technocratic ethos, though the emphasis is on legal training, and a very high proportion of German civil servants have a legal background. Recruitment to the senior civil service takes place after undergraduate university education. It is intensely competitive and based on a general state examination consisting largely on law and political science, making this course preferred choices for undergraduates hoping to enter the civil service. Like France, Germany has a civil service whose recruitment and socialization process is education oriented and subject focused. As a result, German civil servants provide themselves as technocratic public administration. Civil servants enjoy tenure of office, high salaries and fringe benefits, but are expected to show unswerving loyalty to the constitution. Civil servants have no right to strike and can be potentially dismissed if their political views do not support the constitutional order. See Jeffrey and Withu, 1997, and Timney, 2000. At the highest, the German civil service does not make a rigid distinction between political and administrative activity. The most senior civil servants may be identified with a political party or government. With respect to promotion and recruitment, each ministry recruits and promotes independent of a central body with that responsibility, and this trend tends foster political unity, since German civil servants have a similar pattern of training in law with a social science flavor. At an early stage, any intending public servant with extreme view will be weeded out of the system, while senior civil servants opposed to the view of their ministers expect to be replaced without serious loss of status or income. So what then are the challenges or criticism leveled against the German civil service? 1. It has been criticized for being too slow to adapt to changing economic, social and political environment. 2. The unification of Germany in 1990 posed a serious challenge to the German civil service. In the aftermath of the civil service, by approximately 1.2 million, a vast majority were placed on the waiting list while their background and sustainability were assessed. Central government agencies. The federal government is responsible for the administration of the social security and health system, which are managed via the ministries of labor and social affairs and of health. The Federal Labour Institute is responsible for employment agencies of the various central agencies that exist at the Federal Bank and the state holding agencies. Federal and local governments. The kind of federalism set forth in basic law is based on German federal traditions. German federalism concentrates legislative power at the federal level and places administrative and judicial powers at the state level. It is for this reason that the Federal Republic of Germany has often been referred to as a state without a center, according to Timmons 2000. The implementation of policies and programs and the provision of the necessary administrative infrastructure are the constitutional responsibility of the legal states and to a large extent of local governments, according to Dahlen 2000. All 16 states elect their own government. The consequence of this arrangement is that Germany often has a rather confusing landscape. Each state can arrange the structure of its own government, but all provide for an elected legislature based on party identification. The leader of the majority party, or in the case of no overall control, the leader usually of the largest party becomes the chief executive. The minister, president of the states, and acts in effect as the prime minister, working through a cabinet of senior ministers. Though some states comprise a single-tier government for each city, and elect a mayor rather than president as their chief executive. The basic law set out the responsibilities at the federal level, and the basic law subordinates most states' legislative powers to the federal government. However, the state formulates some educational and cultural policies and maintain police. The administration of all laws, including federal laws, is almost exclusively in the hand of the state. The federation is responsible for social security, defense, foreign affairs, national security, motorways and highways, telecommunication, science and research, energy, promotion of industry, agriculture, housing, and urban development. Public health, the environment and overseas development. Local government. Below the states are two major levels of local government. The CRACE is equivalent to the British county councils, and the JAMID, which covers smaller town and rural areas. Under the principle of subsidiarity that governs the ordering of the German administrative system, some effort is made to pass down at least the administrative load to appropriate local government units. The CRACE undertake routine administrative tasks such as electoral registration, but more generally they have important roles of implementing the policies of state government on schools or road maintenance. Both Länder and JAMID have many discretionary tasks, particularly in the area of leisure and cultural provision. The CRACE have a crucial task in supervising the activities of JAMID within the area, and hence fulfills something of a prefectural role in declaring local decisions to be unlawful. Recent development. In July 1995, the German federal government put together the Lean State Advisory Council as an independent and non-administrative body to prepare new steps related to the issue of a lean state, reduction of red tape. The lean states recommended that the federal government should modernize the federal government. Since 1998, the idea of the enabling state is model for the federal effort to modernize public administration. The model aims at sharing responsibilities between states and society in a new way by seeking to understand the issues that require state regulation and financing and the responsibilities citizens can undertake and accomplish on their own. To advance the idea of the enabling states, the program Modern States, Modern Administration was set up. The program consists of three pillars: modern administrative management, reducing bureaucracy, and e-government. The first phase of the program focused on streamlining agency structures and the introduction of modern management methods. The second phase of the program emphasis is paid on improvement and simplification of work processes and to client orientation, according to Shippers 2005. Summary. In this chapter, we have examined the nature and character of the administrative system in Germany. As we have noted in our case studies, the evolution of administrative context has had their consequences for public administration in general. Modern Germany started evolving in 1871 with the unification of Germany and has been marked by 2 world wars and the division of Germany. But since the unification of Germany in 1991, renewed measures to reform the administrative system has been undertaken. The orientation of the civil service is based on a technical orientation. The principal feature of federalism in Germany is that the central government is vested with legislative powers, while the subnational governments are vested with administrative and judicial powers. This is the end of lecture 9. Thank you for listening.